Okay, so in this third part in our video, I'm going to cover a couple of additional things, how to utilize hatches to describe some of the qualities of the site texture, and I'm also going to describe how to dash line thing, and finally how to go from the site plan to the site section steps. And I'm not going to fully, you know, get the assignment. This is going to illustrate to you guys, the best way to do all the up to you creation of. So first of all, I just want to illustrate one of the techniques that I think will be really useful. Again, this is a different type of creation that we use graphic representation, which has to do more with like describing surface different elevation, differences in elevation, and the presence of that kind of tells to the qualities of that particular. So one of the ways I think it's best to do that is just to illustrate it through texture. This surface and this, and we can make our new layer. Is I'll use dark green best. So all I really want to do is I want to kind of create some outlines and fill them in with those textures. And I think one thing that would be useful to do at this point would be to like not draw a hard edge between areas that have these different. For example, what I'm going to start with is this lighter color zone where I see some sediment. Obviously, this has been, this has got these lines in it that formed in some. Obviously, over here we see a little bit kind of naturally. So I want to kind of distinguish between regions through. And I think the best way, you can use like the tools that we used in previous lessons are to draw out. And in a lot of cases, that'll be the best data out zones, and it doesn't have to be one. So actually, what I should do layer, put my that way, whenever I draw on this layer, I can just kind of use it to fill patches. But I can also turn it off when I'm done, or set it to not print. Done, I don't see those edges. I can kind of go all the way up to there, really. The other technique that's really useful is there's a alt sketch. And I'm going to use the alt, hold the alt key. And rather than clicking hit points, I'm just dragging them, tracing it more like I would. Right, and then when I'm done, I'll just click, and you can see it makes kind of smooth outline. Now I'm also going to use I, and so how would I actually go about it? So if I wanted to kind of fill in these hatch, I would use the command hatch, and without anything selected, so I can change the option boundary. So for example, here I can just click those two out, even though they're not joined. not trimmed and create a closed outline, they kind of just fill them in. So I have a whole variety of hatches. You can even use multiple hatches in one area. You can also use scales. You can overlap it. Start to see outlines. Once again, that's there. That I want to have properties. Another thing that you can do that's really helpful, like I want this and this to the same material to appear similar. Click one of my hatches, obviously properties, and I go to the hatch button. I can adjust its properties there. I can also click this button, hatch. Hatch. It'll automatically like pick up those properties there. Apply from one to the other and match them. If I can go to print all the way down here. Oh, actually, let's try it out. Oh, by the way, some people were wondering why the gray background, like if I go to print, let's say well, you can see those lines here, right? Good thing. Some people were wondering why their background appears gray on the layouts. That's just an option. I don't know, so go to option, and I'll go to appearance, colors, down here where it says layout box, I'll set it to white. You just quickly apply Alt and and now we can kind of get a sense of those hatches also pick up the property. Well, that'll obviously once we add, it'll add up. So the other thing I wanted to illustrate here was how to do this dash line earlier. So when we normally set a dash line, and that's just that suggested outline that given to you in the Rhino file, yet. But what we want to do is go ahead. What we want to do is go ahead, line type to that. So under line type, where it says continuous, then I can that dash line. That's pretty good for that, right? But let's say I wanted to use a dash line. You know what this like pathway. If I set it to a different earlier tutorial, I'll just set that to 1. So that looks okay, but obviously we know that later on it's quite that tight of a dash line part. So what we can do is we'll go to options, and under line type, see here we can adjust actually what our current line types are. We can also just, what I would do is I would add a new one. Double click here and look up like pen. And then down here, just kind of like what I do in Illustrator, I'll just type in a, and so as you can see, by whether or not the numbers get underlined, like that represents the dash, right? That dash. For for apply that line type to our layer. Go. That's one more time. Cache is a little long. Even actually a little more out. So there we go. A little more realistic. And that's fine. That's all we're going to do. Give it that level of precision that more or less matches the pattern. Add some thickness to that one too if we wanted to. Maybe what I would do is that way when it prints it'll blend into the background a little. And so you can see we're starting to get some decent definition lines, but even that lighter. But anyway, so the other thing I wanted to talk about in this video is how we would go through and create sections based on the topography line. I draw a line. Section line, obviously we want to do two sections, north, south, and west. Anyway, I'm going to draw that line. That's where I'm going to cut a section. And I could actually finish a construction line. Okay. And, with turn on my start of hand. And so what I would do is I would draw, similarly, I would draw a line up above. That would be my kind of baseline. What I'm going to do is just pull up the lines that I need that define limits of faster. Do topography first. Then I'll do okay. And so what I want to do first is set a height above the base. In fact, I'll just offset this line. Try and starting point maybe 12. That's the thickness just of the base. Obviously, I'm going to assume this is the low point, although I'm not sure that's true. We'll find out. What I'm going to do then is that's the lowest point. Offset this line again. Remember, I have 2-foot contours. Offset it by 2. So this is the next line up. Go ahead and use it to trim. That guy. To trim. Right. This guy. That's how I'm going to kind of map out, where all these are. That's even. And so obviously we go back down on the other side of that. And I think and then we circle down. That is actually a low point. One thing we could reference is perhaps not. I think these must be like two individual waterways formed. That's another high point. Cool. So back up, down, and then we're going back up. And then back. Okay. So that's kind of useful, I think, demonstrating that the kind of layering, that essentially we think of layers. Contour lines are they're an abstraction of the ground, and then what we want to do is start to interpolated lines, and of course those will be our heaviest lines cutting through. And I'm going to go interp curve. I go through each of these kind of mess. So once again, like I said, these points represent limits of where we see the ground. Now, obviously, we also a little bit more. So as we get closer to the point, I'm going to add more control points to kind of control. There we go. See what I do over here, it kind of affects the backscan drawing. I'm just kind of trying to hover basically between where those lines are next. Yeah, that's kind of what we get really when we settle ground change. Okay, there we go. So that's a pretty good section line. I'm going to make a duplicate layout. Position here, sense of what that would make those constructions. It should print nice and light, but anyway. We have kind of this base. Oh, right, because drawing from the Oh, yeah, so the page is 20. Okay, anyway, so there's you know what we should actually look at page 20. Drawing will be all right. And there we go. That represents a pretty good section line. And you know, like we did with our plan, what we would do is go back to our head block website and get some trees in elevation, start to kind of show what those trees are here. We would also want to go cutting through pathways, important arcade, especially in a section, right? Because we're trying to look at those. Where am I relative to a path? So we might even kind of a made up expression there. That should all be registered, right? Okay. So I think that should pretty much cover kind of most of the techniques that'll be used. And uh, you know, kind of welcome to that, Andrew. So anyway, that'll kind of cover most of the techniques that are used in this particular type of application, and we can play around with patches some more and everything like that. We want to kind of achieve, you know, type of drawing that really speaks more to kind of feeling is of rather than rather than just the kind of pure technical descriptive, you know. So anyway, that'll pretty much round off these tutorials, and we will talk more about these